Welcome everyone, and thank you for being with us today. We're very delighted to see that many faces in the theater. During the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about a journey, the journey towards data self-service that we try to implement at Back Market, a scale-up I am working in as a data engineer, and I'm here today with CAPUCINE, lead project manager at Back Market. And we had the pleasure to be invited by Tristan from CASTORDOC, CEO and co-founder of CASTORDOC. Just a few words about Back Market before we start digging into the self-service. We are a marketplace for refurbished devices, smartphones, laptops, tablets, and so on. And our goal as a company is to give no more factual reason to buy new. The underlying vision we have is to limit the carbon emissions and the water consumption, which is representing a lot into the carbon footprint of the digital industry today. And in the life cycle of the devices, what we want to do is to reintroduce them on the market in order to foster the circular economy. A few words on CASTORDOC now. I'm sure that Tristan will be able to find better words than I do, but it is an AI-powered data catalog that we are using at Back Market. It is completely integrated within our data stack, and basically what it enables us is to find and understand data. So it's a tool for us to empower users to trust the data that we have within the company.
And so, just like Thibault mentioned, we are a scale-ups, and just like many scale-up, we want to be data-driven, base ourselves on data to make decisions, be data-informed, be data whatever you want to call it. So we have lots of ambitions around data, and we're also very enthusiastic people. So whenever we have such a big objective set for us, we try to see what prevents us from attaining this goal, and we try to find solutions. So first problem that we have identified at Back Market was that we didn't have enough data people. So in the past few years, we've hired data engineers, analytics engineers, data analysts, data product managers, and now we are ending up with more or less 30 data people for a company of a bit over 600 people.
So once we solved this problem of having a data team, the next challenge which was waiting for us was data modeling. So far the data was not structured enough so it could be adopted company-wide. So we had to structure it and to create a clean data model. And this is actually what you see. This is a simplification here, but we created some different data layers within the company. The first one is concerning raw data that is delivered by data engineers. So it's coming from our internal data sources, from our back office, from our marketplace database, and on the external data part, we are also retrieving data from our CRM tool, social media tool, and finance ones. So this is concerning the first layer. Then we have some cleaning and transformation step that we won't talk about during this talk, but you have to believe us, at some point data arrives in the middle layer, which is the dimension and fact tables. So every table at this layer represents a single business object representing an order on our marketplace, a payment, a refund, a shipping of a package. But at this point, there is a one-one relationships between business objects and tables. So these kind of tables are open to analysts within our company, but it is still too specific for a company-wide adoption. So what we wanted to do is to create another layer on top of this, which is what we like to call universes. You may refer it also as gold data tables, but this is actually mixing different business objects within a single layer. So you have to imagine a universe as a big table where you don't need many joins to analyze data, and that enables us to make an easy analysis on a particular focus on the business.
So the next problem we've had was that we had those people that knew how to build data things. We had those very cool data tables, understandable, easy to use, that were built, but we actually needed people to be able to query them. And some people, of course, didn't want to go too deep into data learnings, so some SQL queries were also built for business people, for them to be able to get the data that they need on a day-to-day basis. But we realized that they were not able to adapt them to their needs whenever a slight change in the business was occurring. So we wanted to create SQL trainings for the people to be trained on SQL and be familiar with data. But as you can see from the screenshot here, if you just move a bit to the left, Thibault, we only had 26 apprentices on the whole company taking this SQL training, and that's mainly because we didn't really follow up on that, and we didn't make any publicity on these SQL trainings. So as you can tell, not a very big success.
So far we had an approach of one problem, react to this problem with a single solution. So we had not enough data people, we hired some. We didn't have an understandable data model, we created one. Not enough SQL knowledge, we created a training. One of the last problems we faced was actually to have a data catalog. We didn't know at that time what data was available within the company, and it was hard to have a bird's eye view on our data ecosystem. And this is why we decided to put in place CASTORDOC to integrate it completely within our data stack. So CASTORDOC was actually solving the problem of data cataloging, but it was also providing many very interesting features, one of them being data lineage. This is what you can see on the screen, which is enabling users to answer easy questions like, where is my data coming from? Oh, if I modify a schema on this table, will it impact some dashboards upstream? So this was actually solving many issues regarding those questions.
So as you can tell, we've had lots of individual initiatives answering single problems, but we're here today to talk about self-service initiative, which is a way bigger initiative than the little ones that we've talked to you about up until now. So as you can imagine, at some point we had a shift. And that shift was 2022. We like to call ourselves a tech company. And unfortunately, just like many in the room, I guess, we had some layoffs. And within those layoffs, we had some data analysts leaving the company. But of course, we had those very strong needs around data and this very big ambition about being a data-driven company. So the ambition didn't lower, but the number of people able to answer this ambition did diminish. So we gathered together with all the data people at Back Market and thought a bit about what could we bring to the company to answer this very big ambition. And this is how we came up with this data self-service initiative. What we call the self-service at Back Market is really a framework where business users that need data on a day-to-day basis can answer their needs, their easy questions, without having to ask a data person to help them. So our goal basically was to drastically reduce the number of easy data questions that were asked to the data analyst, and to a wider extent to us, the data people. So having this in mind, we thought a bit, what do we have? What are we lacking? And this is what Thibault's going to explain you.
So from what we already have, we talked about an understandable data model and the data catalog on top of it, which is enabling the bird's eye view and gathering some documentation on data. Well, we had also a bit of historical documentation on Confluence, so it was not centralized yet, but we considered that we had enough documentation to start building this self-service framework. What we are still lacking though is a low-code tool that could be easily usable by anyone within the company without having SQL knowledge. And in order to assess this tool, we also needed a motivated pool of people within the company to assess the user experience, the features in terms of users. And this is how we started this project, this first experiment, which was to integrate a database tool. So it lasted about 6 weeks. During this time, there was some assessment from the business users, but also on the technical side, with engineers having a hard requirements list of features that need to be met. And well, we were a bit disappointed.
Yeah, it was a disappointment for us for 3 main reasons. First of all, as data people, we didn't realize how hard it was to manipulate data when you do not come from the data world. So actually we realized that people needed training to understand what was a data analyst. How is the data transformed? How is the data arriving into my data warehouse? All that kind of things they didn't understand and was very blurry for them, did not help them in being able to use the data. Second point we didn't realize was that even the lowest code tool still require training, and it's even more true when you talk about a tool that helps you use data. So just a quick fun fact about this one. The tool that we had was actually very low code to do a select all on a table. So users were doing this select all on a table, exporting the results to a G sheet, doing the visualization on a G sheet and all the manipulation on a G sheet. So we felt like it was maybe a high price to pay to have a data viz tool that people were only using to do a select all when they could do this straight from the database. And as well, we also had already a data viz tool within the company, so we thought it would be more interesting to have them trained on this single tool rather than spreading the knowledge around 2 tools. And last but not least, and that was the biggest discovery on our side, we tried to make this very time efficient, both on our side and on the business side, because there was this kind of emergency of people leaving the company and not being able to answer the questions anymore. But we actually realized that people were willing to invest time into trainings as long as this is reusable in different contexts. So having this 3 main points in mind, we gathered again with all the data people of Back Market, and we thought about what could be our next experiment. And our next experiment was the Data Champions program. So a data champion at Back Market is someone from the business who needs data on their day-to-day basis and needs a bit of training to be able to answer easy data questions by themselves.
So what product managers and engineers started to do is to create content, internal content like videos and documentations on several points on our data principles, for example, with some general information. What is the design principle of data? What are the basic actors that we have within our company and the importance to having a single source of truth. All of this was, it might be basic for an engineer, it's not for the business, so we had to communicate it. Then we tried to explain one by one the universes, so the gold tables that we had available. So we have about 30 gold tables, so it was important to go one by one and to explain how to use them. Then there was some tutorials on how to use our tools, CASTORDOC, Tableau, BigQuery on the warehouse side. And there was some dedicating SQL training. So the thing which is quite interesting is that we, compared to the previous training, SQL was this time learned within a wider framework of tools. And it was helping people to understand how they could use it, how they could use the data catalog to make their SQL query, and how the lineage was between the different assets. So it was not a single siloed training on SQL, it was integrated into a wider scope. What we also wanted to do is to create a community within the company, so we had some dedicated channels where people could just communicate. and we had also some office hours, which was easier for people to just jumping in the meeting and to ask their questions, even if they were basic. So the result is that in 4 months, we had 75 back makers, back market employees trained, which represent about 12% of the company. So it is a good start from what we expected. And we had a survey, an internal survey about the training. So spoiler alert is actually still going on. I'm sure in this room you know how hard it is for people to answer surveys. But we still have a representative sample of feedback, and you can see that it was greatly appreciated as a training.
So, as Thibault told you, it's been only a few months into this Data Champions training. We're very happy and it feels very promising, but we have still a long way to go before calling ourselves a data self-service company. So, what's coming next for us? First of all, we want to make sure that any persons that join back markets is trained on data, so they know where to find the information that they need. So we want to enforce that to every new back makers. And as well, this is a product-led initiative, so we started small and we are growing bigger and bigger, and we want to add some new contents about SQL and more advanced trainings, about some other tools that could help our users visualize and use data. As well, a second point, we're trying to explore generative AI on our side to see how it could help answer some questions of our business users, of our data champions, like how to write a SQL query, what's the error that BigQuery is popping me. And we know that also Castor is investing a lot in generative AI, and Tristan is going to go back to this a bit later on. And last but not least, we want to leverage the power of Castor. As Thibault mentioned, we have some historical documentation that's on Confluence or in different places at Back Market. We really want to make Castor this very single go-to place, a single source of truth for users to find whatever they need around data.
Thank you, Capucine. Thank you, Thibault. First, let me thank you for being with you and partnering with you over this journey. It's been extremely enriching, and I guess the journey to self-service remains a data utopia for many of us at CASTORDOC, and us, I guess, in the assembly as well. We all acknowledge the benefits our organization and teams can get out of a self-service analytic platform. The customer service experience excellence of Back Market is one very good example of what it can unlock. So that's definitely useful, and seeing what worked and what didn't was very insightful. Obviously, when you think about rolling out data, opening up the data warehouse, SQL, and even a BI tool to more users in the organization, the benefits are huge. But it's also easy to imagine how it can turn up in this situation where you have business users lost in a ton of assets, a top of definition of figures, starting to lose trust in what is reliable, what is not, what they're supposed to use, what they're not supposed to use. And the thing you absolutely want to avoid is, by the lack of context, the lack of trust, they start thinking by their own, they start rebuilding things that have already been done, and then you end up with two dashboards with the same figures, and you're wondering, okay, so what's the true one? And you lose even more trust in data. So how to avoid that? Traditional data catalogs, traditional data governance strategies have tried to set rules and try to lock things down to make sure people are only allowed to see what they're supposed to use. But it's kind of contradictory to the self-service analytics strategy and initiative that you've built. And usually, when you start to lock things down and people are in those situations, it ends up with the data team as a bottleneck, back to the beginning, back to people asking questions about why they don't have access to things, where are they supposed to find things, and the data team is basically a customer success for the few dashboards they've made, but no one is actually self-serving. So Castor, we were born with a new, more modern approach to data governance, something that truly enables the business, the users, the data consumers, based on 3 very important pillars. The first one is obviously data discovery. So a data catalog is something that ingests all the metadata, all the assets from your different data tools. And the idea is to make sure everyone can have visibility on what exists, what is being done, where it's coming from, and what's reliable. So data discovery is the very first pillar to restoring trust in data in business teams. The second one is data community. Data is something kind of particular in organization because it's cross-functional. You address different stakeholders from the product team, from the customer success, from the supply chain, from the marketing, very different use cases, and you're supporting all of them in their operation and daily task. You want to have this sense of community, data community. Back Market mentioned the data champions, the relationship they have between embedded analysts, embedded data champions in business team and the data platform team. Castor wants to be the place where those exchanges, those discussions, those learnings happen. We want to be the place where you build that collective intelligence as an asset to the company. And finally, things can go crazy in terms of number of assets, number of tables, the costs of this infrastructure. So we want to help you manage the health and keep your data warehouse, your data tools under control. So Castor have been designed this way since the beginning with this new approach, openness, based on those 3 pillars. And obviously, you've all learned and seen the few releases and the few advancements in AI. So today I'd like to talk briefly, it's not a demo, it's not going to be everything about AI, but briefly about the new upcoming features and things that we can expect from a large language model on top of the learning and the context that you have in a metadata repository or in a data catalog. You can think of it as a super analyst knowing everything, being the expert that can actually answer all of those questions. A data catalog is a repository of all the business knowledge, the context, the lineage, as we mentioned, that is fully automated with Castor, the definition and the source of truth for a company. The data governance, the policies you implement, the certification you write on top of dashboards are going to feed this super expert data analyst who then is going to be able to explain and answer the question directly where end users are asking them. So we truly want to be this enabler, this data coach, trained on your data, guardrails by the governance policies and the governance strategies that you set up, but for the end users, for the rollout of more wisely used and efficiently used data within your company. So it looks like a bot that can answer a lot of different things, again, being trained so that it doesn't hallucinate. I'm going to stop there. Thank you all for your attention, for being there today. And obviously, if you have more questions, if you want to learn more about CASTORDOC as a data catalog, as a data coach, data assistant for your end users, we're at the booth 558, just there. So we'll be more than welcome. You'll be more than welcome to ask some questions there. Thank you,
Thanks a lot
for the talk. Thank you everyone for joining.